Hi there, MiniWarGamer Kris here with another episode of On the Desk. In this video, we'll be continuing work on Matt's BioTitan. We'll be using some green stuff today, and getting to some of the feedback that have come up from the first video. So let's get right to work. Okay, so we get our green stuff putty ready and make sure we have a couple sculpting tools and such, and as we are going to be reinforcing the pin on those legs, and so I'm just looking for one that's kind of a standard sculpting tool, and I'm also going to look for my, where the heck is it now? It's one other cut that's good for doing flat edges. I'll go with this guy here. He's good for that. And we'll keep this handy just in case we need any other tools. And so, grab some yellow, and typically I like to use a X-Acto blade, but I do not have one handy, so we'll just use a bit of the sculpting tool. I dip in a little bit of water first, and I'm gonna need, well, I don't know, I need at least a little bit like this. Some of that yellow off there. Okay. Now often people tend to keep these in their tubes. I would recommend keeping them separate as far as storing them and such, as like an old piece of Tupperware that you're not using or anything like that. Just keep the yellow separate and keep the blue separate, because often when you leave them in the tube, they tend to converge on each other just over time, especially if you don't do a whole lot of sculpting or gap filling or whatever you use your green stuff for. Now this is kind of irregular, but well, here let's take our yellow and we'll roll it and roll it some more. Okay, and then I don't know, let's grab about, it's okay actually if you grab a little bit more of the blue. The blue is the hardener in green stuff, so we'll just grab a part that looks about roughly the same size, but hopefully it's a little bit more, as the more hardener you add to green stuff, the harder obviously that your finished cured green stuff item will be, if that makes any sense. Just if you want more blue, if you want it to be harder, add more blue. If you want it to be softer and more flexible, use more yellow. Just for anybody out there who doesn't know or is not that familiar with green stuff. Green stuff is not that tricky to use. Very versatile, very handy to have around. I've even used this for house repairs. You've probably seen those commercials where the guy's attaching things with the putty, and anyway. Alrighty, so as you can see here, we got our little balls of green stuff ready to go, and you can see the blue is a little bit more, but that's fine, like I said, because I do want it to go a little harder, as we are going to be attaching them to this Titan's claws. And what we're going to do basically is take the green stuff and camouflage these pins in place, and we're also going to reinforce them. Like they're glued on, and it's pretty solid, but I wouldn't trust just the glue to keep this tightened and keep this model upright. So, take our little pieces together and then mash them. Now, typically I like to use water on my fingers just so that the green stuff doesn't stick to you. And then for kneading, we just stick them together and pinch them together. Then when you got to pinch together, you fold it over and pinch them together again. And you just keep going like so. And it's not terribly exciting stuff visually, but hey, it's got to be done, right? And so let's have a look at a comment or two. And so far it seems like people are going to enjoy this series or looking forward to future episodes, which is really nice, as if people are going to watch it, I'll keep doing them. And again, like I said, if you have any questions about anything related to, you know, painting, terrain making, or anything like that, or just share your opinion on whatever, feel free, as just about everybody's got an opinion on something. And we'll keep mixing this green stuff. And so, let's see here. Yeah, I got a kick out of this one comment from a fella, Coreyval. Says I look like Penn Juliet or Gillette, buddy from Penn and Teller. Well, first off, I have been mistaken for that guy once or twice. Whoops, dropped that. And I must say, it hurts my feelings a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't care. I like Penn and Teller. They're funny. Most of this stuff, anyway. Sometimes Penn does get a little annoying, as he's quite loud and often quite abrasive. But that's just me. Often people have said I've been loud and abrasive. And that's alright. Alright. So we got quite a bit here mixed up here. And I'm just going to quickly just put it in a little ball. And yeah, there we go. Little ball. Now often, when I am using my green stuff, I take a little bit of water. I always keep water handy. Always handy. And I always take a little bit of water and put it on the surface, just so that the green stuff doesn't stick to wherever I'm working. And so for the first claw, I'm going to take these arms off. And this just going to get in the way. So, take a little bit of green stuff. Hi guys! Thank you, Dan. Take a little bit of green stuff. And we'll just mash it around a bit. And you can put it in a little ball. I think what we're going to do is we'll use a little bit of a snake method, where we'll roll it out into like a little snake or a little thing of spaghetti. Yeah, I think I did mix up a little too much. Oh, well, that's good. I was only planning on doing 2 of the claws today, but with this much green stuff mixed up, I may do all 4. I just was holding off on doing all 4 because you got to allow the other 2 to cure, and often when you're handling a big model like this around, and often mistakes can happen and such. And so we're going to take our green stuff and start fitting it to the claw. Now, I'm going to try and keep this in frame here, but you'll forgive me if I fall out of frame while I'm doing this real quick. Often when you are shaping it too, you want to keep your fingers wet so that the tackiness of the green stuff doesn't stick too much to you and will adhere to the model or whatever it is you're working on. And so, and don't worry about using water on the green stuff if you're not familiar with a whole lot of sculpting work or whatever. as the water really doesn't affect it. This putty will cure even while wet, and so that's really one of the nice features about it. And so there we go. Now we're not going to leave it quite like that, as that looks kind of funny. It almost looks like I don't know what the heck that looks like. So anyway, take our little tools, our little sculpting tools, and the trick with playing with green stuff is always keeping your tools moist. And so, because if the putty sticks to whatever you're using as to shape your putty, it will pull and such, and you won't get a smooth finish. And so just really quickly here, I'm going to try and shape this guy around, try and match some of these details on this claw. Not entirely happy with how that's shaping up. I want most of it up closer to the pin, and I don't want this much actually down by the blade. Let's have a look here. So like I said, if I fall out of frame, you're going to have to forgive me, because this guy is quite large. So let's move some of this putty further back here. Yeah. And often with green stuff, for anybody who hasn't used this stuff, often its working life is quite fast. It says it'll cure within 3 or 4 hours, but the working time that you have with it, where it's really good, is like really not very long at all. And so, yeah, man. I'm just trying to match this bend that's in the claw and try and move some of this putty further down to the back of the claw, so that it feels more like, you know, the little bauble that comes up from the claw, the little, I don't know, whatever the heck you would call that part that extends, like the part of the knuckle, I guess. So get that ready. Now often with green stuff, to get a smooth finish, you just got to keep your hand or whatever you're using to smooth the surface, but always keep it wet. And if it becomes too dry, then obviously that's when the putty will adhere to whatever texture or surface that you're working from. And so it's a lot of fun working with this stuff. Okay, so let's see. Let's try and pull some of this. Try and stay this in frame here. Try and pull some of this putty back forward. So really what we're going to try and do is just extend the feeling of the claw. We're not trying to rob any of the textural detail on the blade of the claw. We just want to, but we do want to keep a lot of putty on the surface, on the raised edge, on the thickest part of the blade. You know, it comes like the sharp point of the blade, and then it comes back into the claw. And so we want to keep most of the putty back here and allow it to grip the rest of the resin model. So keeping this putty moving forward. Moving. No, yeah, that's not how that song goes. Rolling. If anybody remembers what song that actually is, probably admitting how old they are, I suppose. And remember, always when you're playing with green stuff, keep your working tool moist. Often I've heard people use like Vaseline and other such compounds, but